23 days to convert a customer from first impression that they have with us. So knowing those sort of statistics gives you a lot of confidence, and it allows you to be able to spend your money and know that that return is eventually going to come back.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Traffic Handler Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. We're about getting new customers, making new sales, and growing your retail business with e-commerce. My guest today is Dan Nikas. Dan is a former homicide detective sergeant of 17 years. He turned his policing skill set to e-commerce in 2015 when he founded and ran Gearbunch, turning over $4 million in its first year. Dan is a Facebook global trainer, a Klaviyo Silver partner, and an in-demand keynote speaker at industry events worldwide. Dan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
Super excited. This is going to be a great conversation. You and I met at a conference back in 2018, and we had a really brief conversation. And, ever since then, I've been sending clients, to kind of stalk your activities online. So,
yeah, I do remember meeting you. It was, that was probably the last trip, in case you can't tell from my accent, I'm Australian. And that was probably the last trip that I was able to do before COVID hit. So we've got some really strict travel restrictions here in Australia where we couldn't leave the country. We're only just starting to leave the country now. But that was my last overseas speaking gig, I think, and that was 4 years ago now, because I had a couple more lined up and they got cancelled. So, yeah, I know. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but obviously it was.
Well, it was a long time ago, but even then, so you'd had Gearbunch going almost 3 years at that point.
Yeah.
You had done amazing things. Let's use that as our launching, spot.
Sure.
You want to talk about how you got Gearbunch in the position that it was in, even after 1 year.
Yeah, so it wasn't like Gearbunch went from 0 to 4 million in 1 year and I had no experience in this industry. I had been medically retired from the police, and I was into fitness, and I had a fitness website, and I got introduced to Teespring, which was, for those that don't know, it's a print on demand t-shirt model that came out, would have been 2013, I think, and it was a really unique way to sell products that didn't exist and they didn't get made until obviously the person bought it. As part of that, I sort of realized, well, I can't keep trying to sell t-shirts and hoodies to my fans and my fitness website. So I looked at Facebook advertising and found that I had a real knack with it. And that's what we talk about, or what you mentioned, is that I took my policing skill set and applied it to marketing. So I don't have a marketing background. I never went to university or college. I went to the police academy when I was 19. No IT background. Everyone seems to think that that's what you have to do to be successful in this industry, and you definitely don't.
Yeah.
But what I did find is that I developed a skill set to find people that didn't want to be found. And, like if I did find someone when I was a detective in homicide, it was, they were going to jail for the rest of their life. Like there was no incentive for them to be found. Like I had to find them. They were hiding from me. And then all of a sudden I get shown Facebook advertising and everyone's telling me everything about themselves. People are leaving clues everywhere about themselves. And I just found it so easy and fascinating that I could find people. And when I found them, they were happy I found them, because I was putting a product in front of them that they wanted, that they were interested in. So I was very, very successful selling T-shirts for Teespring. I became one of their sort of global ambassadors and global trainers, and they flew me around the world to teach people how to sell on using Facebook ads. But what I did notice in 2015 is that the market started getting really saturated. They were doing a great job promoting their platform. Facebook ads was becoming more mainstream, and there were so many people doing it. And the market there was a lot more competition. It started to get a lot more saturated. So I had a look at dropshipping, using dropshipping models. It became fairly popular at the time. I did it for like maybe 6 weeks and I hated it. I didn't feel, and this isn't, dropshipping, if that's your jam, then that's what you do, that's fine. But for me, I just didn't enjoy the customer experience that it provided. So I moved away from that. And then was sort of like up in the air about where to sort of progress now. And I got approached by a company called Printful, and they were then doing, they just launched leggings, doing print on demand for leggings. And they knew that I had been one of Teespring's better sellers. And they said, do you want to test this? So I said, yep, sure, I'll give it a go. Did my market research, realized that the gap in the market for leggings and activewear is at that time, most of the time when you walked into a retail bricks and mortar store, all you could sort of buy or find was very plain activewear. So it was black, or it was very solid colors. There was nothing that expressed people's personalities or people's interests or hobbies and things like that. So I said, all right, we'll give it a go. Got some designs together based on niches and interests that I knew had sold well with the t-shirts, and threw a website up, and I called it Gear Bunch because I had no idea that it would become a brand.
Yeah.
It was an accidental brand. It was a bunch of gear, which is where the name comes from.
Yes.
So launched a dozen designs in the leggings to the niches that I knew had performed well previously, and it just took off. And it was just a case of then having to keep up with the designs and just launch as much as we could. And that's how it went so well in the first year. We hit a pocket of the market that was really underserviced.
Yeah.
So we provided a product to all these super passionate women at the time who were unable to express their personality or, their interests through what they were wearing when they were just sitting around the house, going to the gym, going walking, having coffee, whatever it might have been. And it really just resonated with them and took off exceptionally well. And
the look was distinctive. Like you could look at these things and say, oh, that's not, this other famous yoga brand.
No, that's not. And we didn't try to, I was bootstrapped. I did well selling shirts, and I had enough money to launch Gear Bunch and pay for ads and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I had, I got a mortgage and 3 kids, and, I wasn't heavily backed. I didn't have any investors. It was all out of my own pocket. And I was, I had to be smart about it. And I was like, part of that strategy was don't try and compete with the Lululemons of the world. Yeah. I'm never going to compete with them. So I need to be focusing on that 0.1 of the 1% of women around the world that don't just want to wear plain athleisure. I want those women that want to express their personality, that want to show the world what they're interested in. Yep. And so we came up with all these really bright and vibrant and crazy designs. And look, it's not for most people. And that's the whole idea. My wife looks at it and just cringes. She's like, oh my God. She's like, do people wear that? And I'm like, yeah, people love it.
Yeah.
And she's more conservative with that sort of clothing, and she's just, and I know that if she goes, oh my God, I can't even believe people wear that, I know it'll sell. If she walks in and looks at a design and says, I love that, I'm like, God, that's not going to sell. It's not going to go mainstream.
That's a great test. That's great.
It is. Yeah. So that was part of our strategy, is be different to what's already out there, be very different. So we're not competing with them.
Today's episode is sponsored by Schema app for Shopify. Connect with customers at the beginning of their buying journey. Adding structured data to your Shopify store helps search engines better understand your website. This increases the chance of customers finding and purchasing products and services like yours. Get started today at schemaapp.com, schemaapp.com. Yes.
Still have to have a high quality product, still the same standards, but we're not going after that same pocket of the market.
Right. And by distinguishing yourself, you attracted a major contract, with Marvel, right?
Yeah. So it's funny. I was just, I got a phone call, and I honestly thought it was a joke. Like, my mates are always trying to play jokes on me, and a lot of my mates who I had who were former police find it hilarious that I now sell leggings for a living. So I quite often would get phone calls, and they'd be like, oh, it's Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook. And this guy rings me, and he tells me his name, and he goes, I'm from Disney. And I'm like, oh, okay, who's this? Yeah. And he eventually convinces me he's from Disney, and we, strike up a conversation. And basically his wife had come across our ads and loved and bought some gear and loved it. Showed her husband. Her husband then started the wheels in motion for us to partner with them. And we actually partnered with them as part of their Marvel range. Bought out a lot of really cool leggings based around like the Avengers and Spider-Man and things like that.
Yep.
So it was we'd come to the attention of a worldwide company, which was fantastic. And the thing that was funny is that when he rang me, he couldn't quite figure out where my accent was from. And it was like I think it was a Friday night he rang me, and I was like, I was a bit dismissive of him to start with, thinking it was a joke. And because, it's a Friday night, and he goes, well, where are you? And I said, I'm in Australia. And he said, what time of day is it? And I said, it's like 8:30 on a Friday night here.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no wonder you're sort of, you're not so quick to take up, what I'm trying to tell you. And I was like, yeah, I honestly thought it was a joke. And that's sort of how the conversation started. And that's who we are. We're pretty real. And but the systems and strategies that we'd put in place with Gearbunch had, brought us to the attention of the global market. They thought we were a big American company. And he was quite shocked when he realized we weren't.
Right. Well, the fact that you were doing business in a time zone in a market that was, exponentially bigger than the Australian market. So right from the beginning, right?
Well, we had to. Well, a couple of reasons. Again, it was the strategy. Mm-hmm. So to start with, all our products are made and fulfilled out of the US at that stage. It's expanded since then. But when you're doing print on demand, there's a lead time compared to others. And in the age of now Amazon, where you can get an order and get stuff delivered in one day, we need to be conscious of that. So I would only market in the US to start with, because I needed to make sure that it would take us 3 or 4 days to make the product once the customer ordered it.
Right.
If I was to send it to Australia, it'd be another 3 weeks. So we'd be looking at a 3 to 4 week time before the customer received the order. In the States, we get them delivered in under 2 weeks, always. Usually about 10 days, which is acceptable. And we tell people that we hand make the product for them, so they're always happy to wait that little bit longer. We don't tell them we don't make it until you buy it.
Right.
We put that unique selling proposition on it that we hand make it in the USA just for you. Mm-hmm. The other reason that I went with America is Facebook, and this is the detective side of me. Facebook at that time held a lot more third-party data than any other country. So they used to buy a lot of data from third parties. Every time you go use your credit card or your rewards card or something when you go to the shops, those companies aggregate all your information. They sell it to companies like Facebook. The US at that time, from memory, was the only one that had that. So the third thing is, so we had a lot of extra targeting because we knew a lot more about the users. The third thing is I think on Facebook we had 220 million possible users we could target. In Australia, it was 20.
Yeah.
We had 10 times the audience. We had more information on that bigger audience. Our products were made out of there. So that was the strategic decision, was to sell it there.
Yep. No, it's the whole thing is brilliant. And, the story is amazing. I'm sure everyone wants to emulate what Gearbunch has done and what you have done with the brand. And, when I met you in 2018, you were teaching on how you got to where you got, and the strategy, the tactics of your ad account. I mean, so you and I both know it's a big enough pie for everybody to play the game if they want to. So can you talk about that transparency? Because that's gold.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that sort of led me to make the decision to get up on international stage and show people exactly what I was doing, what my brand was, what ads I was running, what my strategy was. The first is, when I got medically retired from the police, that was not a great time in my life. and I'd never done anything else. I'd been at the police academy since I was 19, 17 years as a police officer. I never went to university. I never got a trade. I'm not good with my hands. You know, and I was faced with the prospect of being unemployed with no transferable skills into another industry. You know, you're a police officer or you're not. You know, there's not a hell of a lot you can do after that career. It's a very unique position. So I was very depressed and just sort of hid away from the world for a little while. I was a bit embarrassed that I'd been retired, and I just immersed myself in the online world in terms of like trying to figure out, well, how can I create a living for my family without having to go and interact with people, because I didn't feel like doing it at the time.
Yes.
And what I found, and it's still true to this day, is that there are so many people that are willing to help you with no expectation of anything in return. And so many people helped me get to the point where I developed enough skills where I could launch Gearbunch, that I promised myself that if I was ever in that position, I would help as many people as I could as well, because that's the way the world works. Yes. The other thing is that I hate with a passion the gurus. Yeah. So there are so many gurus out there, and we're seeing it now with TikTok. Yeah. So as an example, you know, years ago it was all the Facebook gurus, and now it's the TikTok gurus, and there's no transparency with them. They just show you flashy numbers and they say, look what we did, and they've got absolutely nothing to back it up. They're like, oh, I can't tell you what my brand is. I can't tell you who we're working with. I can't tell you anything. All I want you to do is pay me money and I'll put you into, you know, our program, or we'll run your ads for you without any sort of, there's no credibility behind it. Some of the gurus are reasonable. Mm-hmm. The ones that aren't the gurus are the best ones. Yeah. But I was an anti-guru guy. And so instead of getting on stage and saying, well, this is, you know, what I do, and without any sort of validation with figures or, you know, what's my brand or who I've worked with, I just thought, well, that could be crap. Like, it could be, I Googled this, mm-hmm. and this is what Google told me I should do. Right. Big deal. Like, until you've got your own skin in the game and you're actually spending your own money, and there's a risk of losing your own money or you're damaging your own brand, then I sort of think, well, you know, it's nice, but I don't have that inherent trust with you yet. So I made a decision to get up on stage and just be honest with people. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that, as you know, is that if I get up and I tell you my brand, that's fine. It just means you know that it's mine. But people can find that anywhere. It's open source. It's everywhere. And I get up and talk about Facebook ads. I'm good at Facebook ads. I'm one of Facebook's global trainers now, which is fantastic. I'm part of their business council in Australia. So I know Facebook ads really well. I get up on stage and I tell you what I'm doing with Facebook ads, because I know that even if you just copy my Facebook ad strategy, as good as I am at them, and you know what my website is, you're still missing so much. Yes. That it is like that iceberg analogy. Like, Facebook ads is the tip of the iceberg. It is. What goes on underneath is what really powers Gearbunch. Now, the results that I was getting with the Facebook ads, even back in 2018, were fantastic. And people are like, wow. And then they'd see my strategies and they'd be like, I'm kind of doing that already. Why aren't I getting those results? Yeah. And what I wasn't telling them is that this whole omni-channel presence that I had. So I was really heavily focused on email marketing and SMS marketing as well. So it just complemented. I had Google ads running, also had Pinterest ads running, and it just created so many touch points, and they all complemented each other. I wasn't just relying on one paid traffic source. Yeah. And that's what people weren't getting. So there were so many people that came out and almost directly, well, not almost, they directly copied our website. Yeah. Got my Facebook strategies and tried to implement it. And they're like, they were trying to call me out, like that what I was doing, what I was saying was not the truth, that it was fake, and that my figures were, you know, my screenshots were doctored or something like that. And I'm like, like, I got no reason to. Like, why would I get on stage and say that? Like, because, you know, the reality is you go on stage, you don't get paid to do that. Like,
No.
you get asked to go and you're like, cool, I'm going to do it. I didn't even have an agency or a course that I was selling. So I was just getting up on stage and just chatting to people because, one, I enjoyed it. Two, I like helping people. That's the thing I miss the most about the police. And three, I live in a small town of 5,000 people in like country Australia, in like regional Australia. Right. So there is no one else doing what I do. So when an opportunity comes up for me to go to a conference and speak or be a guest at an event, I'm going to do it because you've got to surround yourself with these people and make new connections. So I was just like, when these people are like, they copy and fail and then try and call me out as being fake, I'm like, whatever. Like, I got no gain from trying to say, you know, trying to overinflate what I'm doing. I just knew what I was doing was working.
Right. Well, it was working. It was working so well that you were in the, 7-figure club right from the start. But anyone has to realize you have to be multi-channel in a way, to achieve that level, whether it's ads, definitely email. And you've gone super strong in the direction of email. Now you're teaching that as well.
Yeah, I'd self-taught everything to myself through email. And self-taught, I don't mean like I created the wheel. I went and Googled it. I would do a lot of what Russell Brunson calls funnel hacking. I would go into brands that I thought were really doing things well, and I would opt in and just follow their flows and see what they were doing. And I did that for a good 2 years, running our email solely in-house. Mm-hmm. And what I realized is that every other paid traffic source that we had, you're playing in someone else's backyard. So if Facebook or Instagram decide to change the rules, well, they change the rules. You're playing in their backyard. If Google decide to change like they have, they're going to change their privacy and they're going to make you do performance max campaigns as standard. Well, then you've just got to adapt. Right. Same with Pinterest, same with Snapchat, same with TikTok. They're all the same. They can all be the newest and greatest, but they're all essentially the same. You are using someone else's platform. Yes. You don't own the data. So two of the only ones that I could find at the time in terms of marketing that were you did own the data was SMS and email. Now, email have been around since the beginning of the internet, and it has become entrenched in our culture to the point that even my kids, as you know, not even teenagers have their own email for school. It's just a way that our society communicates with each other. So it's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I thought, well, it's one of the only channels where I own the data. If I want to pick up and leave one email service provider and go to another, I can do that. If I want to send a message to my subscribers, I don't have to be bound by the terms of service of Facebook. Obviously, there's rules around email. Like you can't be spammy, and you've got to make sure that you go into primary inboxes and all of the best practices that go into it. But essentially, as an example, if I want to show a before and after photo on an email, I can show a before and after photo on an email.
Can I do that on Facebook?
No, and they're going to say no. If I want to send an email about how to make money online, I can send an email about how to make money online. Like, not that I do, but just as an example, there's some really glaring, terms of service that inhibit what you can and can't do on Facebook or Instagram or even Google or Pinterest, all of them. Right. Email, you control it yourself. You control the frequency. You control the cost, you control what's sent out, you control which segment of the audience it goes to, and it's totally transparent. So when people would come to me and they'll be like, oh, can you run Facebook ads for us? And I was just like, you know what, it's not something that I love doing it for myself, but it is like day trading. You are at scale, you're in there every hour of the day pretty much.
That's right.
Automated rules have made it a bit easier, especially when I'm asleep, but fundamentally you're in there a lot. So to do that for another brand and to have these fluctuations in performance with someone else's money, I was just like, that's just not I don't want to wake up every day and stress about that. And the other thing is, I knew that my email marketing was picking up a lot of that slack. So when there was fluctuations in performance, my email marketing was picking up the remainder. It was converting those people that didn't convert through the ads. So that's sort of how I got into the email marketing side of it. And thank God we did, because during COVID, when COVID hit, and what it meant for Facebook ads was a bit of a disaster. Like, it was good to see so many bricks and mortar businesses have to go online. Or not have to go on. It wasn't good to see them go online. It was good that they decided to go online when their shops were shut down. But what that did do is it increased the competition on the platform.
And cost was ridiculous.
So the cost, because it's an auction-based platform, the costs were ridiculous. And then there was this glut. There was extra traffic. There was so much extra traffic because everyone was sitting at home bored and they're on their phones or their devices. And the quality of the traffic was terrible.
Yeah. Because
people were they weren't buying. They were just bored.
Yeah.
So they weren't in that buying frame of mind. They were just scrolling. And so we had increased costs. We had extra traffic that wasn't converting. The thing that kept us profitable was the email on the back end, because we could retarget them. We could create more touch points. We could build trust with them.
Today's episode is sponsored by Bold Apps. Bold offers a full suite of proven apps for Shopify and Shopify Plus to help you grow your online store, all backed by industry-leading support, including bundles, upsells, subscriptions, and much more. Find them at boldcommerce.com.
So, and that's when we started helping other brands with email marketing as well, because we saw that it was keeping our brand profitable, and other brands were coming to us and going, we cannot get our Facebook ads to work. They said, how are you surviving? And I'm like, well, this is what we're doing. It worked. And that's how we started helping other brands with email marketing. Very reluctantly. I never wanted to be an agency because I'd been burnt by a few agencies in the past who promise the world, spend your money on ads, and then the performance was worse than what you could get on your own. And you were trying to free up your own time, but the performance was terrible. In fact, some of them actually lost us money and then would still bill us at the end of the month. And I'm like, how can you guys, like, I know that you got a business to run, but I feel dirty if I lose a client, if I lost a client money and then say, oh, by the way, can you also pay us thousands of dollars for the privilege? And I was just like, I don't want to be one of those guys. But I sort of softly got into it just by helping brands that I'd known or helped over the years with other things, and got into helping them with their email marketing.
And I took a look at your blueprint that you give out, and it reminded me of your Facebook ad structure, because of course, you're doing things smartly. You're using all of the touch points that are available to us in the platform. And then you went on to become a silver, what is it at Klaviyo?
Klaviyo partner.
Yeah, silver partner. And that's a certification that you have to earn. They don't just hand that out.
No. So, and you have to, and it's not only something you have to earn, it's something that they survey people that you help. Yeah. And if they give terrible feedback, then you're not going to be a partner anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you do a terrible job. So we're pretty proud of that. Yeah. And like you said, I don't like reinventing the wheel. Mm-hmm. So the email marketing strategy that you spoke about in the blueprint, it is fundamentally based on the stages of awareness that have been around since the dawn of marketing. Yeah. Since people were knocking on doors trying to sell things to you, or doing letterbox drops. There's nothing new and fancy about marketing on the internet. You're still dealing with humans, and people sometimes forget that there is a real life person on the other end of that device that you're trying to convert into a customer. Yeah. And the same psychology applies. So I would take and I do this with all our paid media. I take the the stages of the funnel, or the stages of awareness, and I implement that into email marketing or SMS or Pinterest or Facebook or Instagram or Google, whatever it might be. You need to talk to them at the stage, at the level of awareness that they're at.
Yeah.
And, you don't talk to a repeat customer the same way you talk to a customer that's hearing about you for the first time. Right. So why would you just send emails out to everyone, put them all in one category and say, here's a new product? Because who cares?
Right.
Someone might not have ever heard of you and they're like, well, that's great, but I don't even know who you are.
Right.
Or someone's bought off you 12 times and they're like, why is he telling me that you now have leggings? Like, I've already owned 12 pairs. So yeah. And people just lose that. Like, I don't know. They just don't seem to get it. They just seem to overcomplicate it. So I just thought, well, why not implement the same strategies?
Absolutely. And, it's not just the platform strategies, but ultimately it's the underlying message. So somebody could look at your structure in the blueprint and completely whiff on the messaging, and it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work.
Exactly. So like the blueprint you're talking about, I give people I call it my Elite 7, which is the 7 foundational automations that we set up when we're building out email marketing. And that goes from every stage of that buyer's journey, from, being problem aware but not solution aware, to, coming to your website and looking at products, to adding something to cart, to starting a checkout, to eventually buying, and then, your cross sells and your upsells. And then if they become disengaged, how to win them back as customers. So you can see that there's a genuine flow of that customer journey through your website. And at every stage, wherever they drop out, they get put into a segment and they get sent specific information and specific emails relating to that part of the journey that they're at. So that's, it's crucial. It's not just a good idea.
Oh, absolutely not. No, it's if, especially these days, you can't just throw an idea out there and expect people to mail you their wallets. It's not going to work.
No,
it just doesn't work.
Absolutely not. No. And look, the system, a massive testament to the system and the way that we run it is, our products sell for $88 as an individual product. Mm-hmm. Our average order value is $150. So people are buying, every time they're buying about 1.5 times, or 1.5 pairs of leggings. Mm-hmm. The other testament is we have a 50% repeat customer rate. So when you know those figures and you know that they're coming from all these different touch points, it gives you a really good ability to scale even at break even on some paid traffic mediums, because the lifetime value of a customer is about, for us, is $215.
Yes.
So I can sit in the market longer and pay to acquire a customer for a hell of a lot more than other people, because I'm not doing one-off sales. I know that customer's worth $215 to me. So I will run at break even over here. I'll pay $90 to acquire a customer because I know my average order value, my lifetime value. And that's not just from, like I said, Facebook ads, which is what I would get on stage and talk about. That was from everything.
Right.
That was sort of going into it.
Exactly. And so it changes entirely how you think about retargeting, because retargeting is not just top of funnel on Facebook, bottom of funnel on Facebook. It's top of funnel on Google or Facebook or Pinterest.
Yep.
And then what happens when you email, or what happens when you, they sign up for SMS, that's retargeting, and it entirely changes the face of that structure.
It does. And it's, and I tell people, and I'm happy that you use me as an example. I tell people, hey, go onto my website and have a bit of, if you want to get an idea of what I'm doing, go onto my website, have a look at a few products, add something to cart, start a checkout and abandon it. Don't buy anything, and just see the system at play. You will get, when you're online anywhere, you're going to see something from us.
Yes.
Or you're going to get emails from us, or you're going to get SMSs from us. But fundamentally, you are going to hear from us. And there's a cycle there. Like, not everyone that comes is going to be a customer, and eventually they'll fall out of that cycle. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not, we don't do it indefinitely, but more often than not, people convert. It takes us on average 23 days to convert a customer from first impression that they have with us. So knowing those sort of statistics gives you a lot of confidence, and it allows you to be able to spend your money, and know that that return is eventually going to come back.
Right, exactly. So Dan, I think we've been here probably a little over half an hour. And I try and keep the podcast consumable and short. So I want to thank you for being here today. Do you want to give us you've got a couple of different websites to send people to. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
Sure. Look, fundamentally, we've got an agency, and we do take over people's email marketing. That's, all of the plumbing that goes into the back end of Klaviyo. All the content, all the creative, we become the email marketing arm for brands. And that's not a cheap exercise. That costs a few $1,000s a month for the brand. And a lot of people aren't at that stage. But what I did realize during COVID and then iOS 14 updates is that whether you're a large company or a small company, we've got the same problems. So I felt bad whenever I would have to look at a client's account and say, look, it's just not financially viable for you to bring us on, and I can't do it for free, and you can't afford it at the moment because you're just a startup or you're just slowly growing, but they've still got the same problems. So what I did is I created a masterclass, which is just 4 weeks. It's really easy to consume. It's just over the shoulder videos of watching me do what I do in the first month with a client. So the full setup of Klaviyo, and I only charge $97 for it. So people can go in and spend a week and just smash it out, or they can spend 8 weeks doing it. They've got access. They then have access to me in a Facebook group, and it fills my altruistic side that I get to help people. Yes. I even consider giving it away for free, but then there's that whole problem. When you give people something for free, there's no value on it. They don't do it. So they don't use it. I'm the same. I sign up for stuff for free and never even open the email sometimes. So $97 is all it is, and it's lifetime access. You get behind the scenes. We give you all the copy, all the creative, all the templates, all the amount of emails you need, all the triggers, the timings, everything. It's all on the PDFs, and you look over my shoulder as I build it out. It's even all the subject lines and preview texts. We put all them in there. So it's like, if you know nothing about email marketing, you can come in and do it. If you're like an intermediate, well, then you just go through and check to a certain point, and then you implement our strategies. So because if you're not making, look, I'll be conservative and say at least 20% on your revenue from email marketing.
That's very conservative, right?
Yeah. 30% is our goal for every brand, and we've got brands at 40% of their revenue coming from our email marketing efforts. But I don't want to overpromise or overdeliver, because some people come in and they don't even have email marketing. I'm like, well, what would another 20% do for you day to day?
Right. Yes.
And I know that's easily achievable.
Yeah. Yep. So what's the website? Where do they go to find this?
Well, can we put a link underneath the
It's going to be in the show notes. Yep. Okay. We're going to have all kinds of.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll give you the links below. And it's called Automated Email Profits is the masterclass. You can just sign up and I'll send you out a PDF, and then you can have a look at a video of me, one of the videos from the course showing you how the training's conducted. Great. Make sure it resonates with you, because I know sometimes when you listen to people, you're like, oh man, this guy knows his stuff, but far out he's annoying to listen to. And you don't want to spend 4 weeks listening to someone who annoys you. I get that. Some of the best trainers some of the most popular trainers in the world, I dead set almost fall asleep listening to, and others I just love. So you got to find that fit for you. If you watch the free video that I've got, it's one of the lessons out of the course and you like it, well, the rest are going to be the same. I talk the same. I've usually got the same background behind me with my kids' drawings. I'm pretty casual. So, and I'm easy to approach. I like having a chat. So perfect. Jump on in and let us know your thoughts. And I'm easy.
Awesome. Great. Well, Dan, thank you so much. I'll do our outro here and really appreciate you being here. So you've been listening to the Traffic Handler podcast, getting new customers, making new sales, and growing your retail business with e-commerce. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. Get more at amybiddle.me. And until next time, go sell more stuff.